I'll call the Property Services meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. With us tonight, we have John Shanks. He's our solicitor, so welcome, John.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very good. Andy Thompson sent on his regrets. His father's not very well, so he's at the hospital. So, okay. So we'll move on. Next is approval of the agenda. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count my nay. Motion carried. Is there any emergency resolutions? Any emergency resolutions? One more time. Any emergency resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Is there any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes of May 21st, 2024? Any errors or omissions, corrections? One more time. Any errors, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next are reports not requiring a motion. First is Public Works and Development Officer's report. Any questions for Logan's not here, so we're not going to get any answer. That's why I came down through Abercrombie and got caught, and I got caught there. So
He did text me,
yeah,
said he's caught in traffic on the 106.
yeah. So we'll hold off. If you have any questions, we'll wait till he comes. If not, then we'll get him by email. Next is Development Officer's report. Questions? Seeing none. The emergency services. Any questions there? Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the monthly fire safety inspection report, there's a category called life safety inspection. I was reading this chart and I had no idea what that meant. What does that mean?
Life safety inspections are every inspection Jason performs for fire inspection. They're just known as life safety. So you'll see them broken into 3 tiers there. So all encompasses both his re-inspections and his life safety inspections. But all inspections that he completes in that chart are life safety inspections.
Okay, Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I mean, if anybody from the Glass will get back to you or anything on the that paint spill up there across from the high school.
No, I haven't received anything back from the town of Glasgow on it.
I talked to Environment today, they'll likely be in touch, okay.
Okay. Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Evan, the Hardwood Hill Tower that we put up for the firefighters, is that up and running now and in operation?
So the tower was just recently affixed up there, the temporary tower we're using, and our equipment was installed last week, the VHF equipment. So that'll be going into test mode next week, with it coming online hopefully in the next month or so, pending some approvals from the province on their end.
Okay, anything further? Seeing none, we'll move on to the fire inspector's report. Nothing there. Next is the building inspection report. Seeing none, move on to the bylaw officer's report. Councillor Dave Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any update on that situation on the Gilbert Road in West River Station?
I don't have an update for that tonight other than the one I provided to Councillor Parker through email, other than our fire inspectors working with the Office of the Fire Marshal on different solutions for the people living in that property.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, I have one there, Evan, if you don't mind. The one on the dangerous unsightly property at 163 Marsh Road. Is that the old High Factory?
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what that property is. What was it that you called it, Councillor Palmer?
It was the old High Factory. Now it's the storage place for Eastern Tire, or it was. They're building baby barns in there now, things like that.
Yeah, I believe that is the location, yeah.
Yeah. What was the unsightly on that? Because
I think-
if we're nailing that for an unsightly, it's,
I'm not entirely sure it's going to meet that criteria at this point. It was just a complaint that we took that we went out and had a look at, so I don't know. I am kind of in agreement with you. I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure that it really meets that criteria.
I tell you, man, if we're going down that road, it's a long road. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, Warden Parker.
I just wondered if you were going back to the Public Works report, now that Mr. Dowell's here. I had a question on that.
I didn't see your hand up, that's why.
I was waiting till he got here.
Yeah, we'll go back to it, yeah. Okay,
Uh,
we'll go back to the Public Works Development Officer's report. Warden Parker.
I've lost the place on my screen now, but I know it was number 12, to do with the flow meters. And so it's more, I guess, to bring council up to date than a question. We've been working at trying to get these flow meters in for quite some time. And it's a topic of discussion at every meeting, of the shared services. And so it came to a head at the last meeting, and it's been some years since these flow meters were supposed to go in, and the town of Glasgow felt that they were being overcharged, that we weren't paying enough because we've hooked up more. Over time, the county has had more locations go into the Eric plant in Trenton, and so they came up with a new funding formula because they felt we weren't getting the flow meters in fast enough. And even though we have made significant progress, and these 4 are going in the near future, but because they're not able to measure how much flow is coming from the county, they came up with this new funding formula or to fund until we get user pay, which is until we get the flows. So the new formula significantly, in fact, more than doubles, I believe, our cost of for what goes into Eric. Our cost this year, when budget time comes here, will be more than double, and I just wanted people to know ahead of time why. I tried to kind of they put us down at 15%, and I talked to Brian about it, and he didn't feel that was a fair figure either. And I tried to say, well, let's go halfway. We'll take half of the increase, and then if at the end of the day, when we get the flow meters in, it proves that we are 15%, then we'll pay it. But this way it is now, we're gonna pay it now, and if it proves when the flow meters come in that we're only 12%, we can't get that money back. We've already put it in. So the downside of it for our residents is that it's gonna significantly increase the amount that anybody that's on the sewer system gets charged per year. We were 308, then we went up to 325, I think, in that range, but I believe our CAO told me that it could as much as double because of that increase. So that's something we're going to have to consider come budget time. But I was disappointed because I thought that going halfway and saying, yes, we will pay the other if it proves that we owed it. But there's other factors come into it besides just the houses that are the reasons why we believe that it's closer to 12% than 15%. But it is going to have an impact when people get their tax bills, and that's almost doubled over what it was last year. If you're one of those residents that's on the sewer program. But I would like Mr. McDowell to give us an update on just where we are on those flow meters. We're putting them in the highest flow areas that we have, but just how soon we're going to have them and where they're going, maybe, Logan?
Just a correction there, I don't think it was doubled, I think it went to 380, was it?
Well, whatever, it was a lot for 1 year, yeah.
Scared me. Since I'm on it.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mr. Warden. And yeah, sorry, everybody, excuse my tardiness. I got caught up in the Highway 106 construction. So With regards to the flow meters, you're correct, we have made significant progress. 4 of the sites, we had ordered the equipment, and it's just a matter of waiting for that equipment to come. We've had some additional correspondence with regards to communications equipment that's required. That's sort of secondary to the original equipment. So those are still on track to get installed this summer and to be online. And we do expect that to handle most of our flow into Eric. We had, so we're hitting Hillside as well. That would be one of the next ones, but the reason why we haven't advanced that one is because we're doing other improvements in Hillside right now, and we want to look at what we actually have there, because if it turns out that we need to replace that lift station, then we would incorporate that into this flow meter project. We would or rather incorporate the flow meter into that project. So Hillside is, we know we have to do something for it, but we're doing this other work in advance because that will drive whether or not we put it in the existing lift station or we put it into a new lift station. We don't want to spend money we don't need to. So the other areas we're hitting are Westville Road. Like currently we have underway Westville Road, Abercrombie, Riverton, and Lynacy. Those are all going to be installed, like I said, this summer. And the remainder, we have ongoing, I'm still trying to have ongoing discussions with Anthony Sheehan. We've had some discussions. We're due for another meeting because I think we can reduce the overall number that we need. I think from a measurement standpoint, we don't need to do all of those other 4. And I think he agrees. So that's where we're trying to drive him down so that we can avoid unnecessary redundancies in counting and spending money that we don't need to spend. So we do want to meet our obligations to Eric, but since this has come back on the, I mean, it's always been on the agenda, but since it came most recently about this funding model change, we've really gone aggressively at trying to make these improvements. So those 4 will be installed this summer. Hillside has to wait until after the other work, the other Hillside improvement work is completed. And the other areas will be, you know, we're sort of negotiating with Eric. I don't think we need another one in Alma. I don't think we need one on Birch in New Glasgow. We don't need another one in Priestville. We just have to get our existing one up and running, which has been not running the past little while. So these are all things that I've been working with Anthony behind the scenes, with Eric to try to resolve and try to limit the number of new meters that we need to construct. But that's the overall where we're at right now.
When will we have all the flow meters that we require? At the end of this year or the end of next year, so that we can then find out how much of the flow is really ours and not have to guess at it?
By the end of this fiscal year.
By the end of March 31st, 2025,
Yeah.
we should have them all in.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I do. Just on the Westville Road meter, does Westville's lines tie into ours or doesn't?
We carry some of Westville's line, so we're servicing some of their residents on the Old Truro Road, for example. And the other areas, we flow into Bear Brook and they flow into Bear Brook. But we don't carry their, aside from some of those houses, say along Old Truro Road, we don't really carry any of their flow.
Okay, my other question is, two more questions. Upland, you said mid-June before have you been talking lately?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I had followed up with them again earlier this month, and they were still trying to get things done. I thought I would get something last week, but nothing came through, so I'm going to keep on them because I want to see a draft and then get that circulated. But it was supposed to be May, and then they had some key staff out, and then it was supposed to be the first half of June, which has come and passed. So we're just trying to keep on them
Just
to
that
get
we're
that.
getting behind.
Yeah.
Our timeline is
That's
moving
right.
further away.
And we need to schedule the community consultation meetings
Yeah.
and things like that too.
So the other thing is the Colburn McCollumsbrook water project. Is that, did you put that out to tenders or?
No, we're still working through the design process there.
No, I mean for for the flow meter, or do you just hire a consultant to do that?
For which, I'm sorry?
For the flow, like for the, to get the pressure?
Oh, that's being handled through, the study itself is being handled through our consultant. We did have to supplement that with some additional flow testing. So we worked with our consultant to hire a subcontractor to complete the flow testing. So that flow testing is being completed over the next couple of weeks.
When do you think it will be ready to go to tender?
Still
I'm getting
planning
quite a
for-
few calls, that's all.
Still planning for June.
Still
Yeah.
planning for June?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? See nobody, we'll move on. Business items requiring action. Provincial Capital Assistance Program. There's two recommendations here. I think it was Logan. Is it Logan? Did you put those in? Or Brian? Oh, sorry. Shared Services, yeah.
Yeah, so the, Eric are looking to do, two, I guess, studies. One for emergency standby, backup power, detailed design, and, the wastewater collection at the 17 lift stations. So they were applying to the Provincial Capital Assistance Program. And one of the criteria for that program is that the councils, or council, because municipalities could apply as well, is that they identify it as a project that they support. So the deadline has passed, but what was said at the last Shared Services Authority was basically the council approvals can come in after the fact because it's made up of multiple municipalities. So as long as the application was in, it could be supported with council prioritization or resolutions after the fact. I don't know if there's anything else. Mr. Warden?
Warden?
Speak on that. I've got nothing to add to what Brian said in terms of the process, but for a few years now, they've recognized that if we ever had a major power outage that lasted for any length of time, we would be in trouble with a lot of backing up in our system. So luckily, because they're in Trenton and the power tends to come back on sooner than it does out in the country further, they generally aren't off for a period of time that causes that backup. But if it ever did, we'd have some really major problems. There'd be, the plant would be full and there'd be no place for that stuff to go. So it's really important. It's going to be costly for sure, but they want to make sure, I think, that it's designed right. And that's what this is about. There'll be a lot higher figure than that when it comes to actually putting the equipment in. But this is just a first step, I think, in moving in that direction. It was looked at 4 or 5 years ago and was backed off of because there just wasn't enough money at the time available. So this is a positive step that's been supported. There just wasn't money to do it, so I'm glad that they have got it forward here now. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Wadden. Second by Councillor Turner. Any questions? See none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Any motions of reconsideration? See none, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Slight hum tonight, I guess. Over there. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Financial Services meeting to order. I'd like to begin by first acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I need approval for tonight's agenda. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have emergency resolutions. Is there any emergency resolutions this evening? Any emergency resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Errors and omissions, corrections to minutes of May 21st, 2024. Are there any errors, omissions, corrections to the meeting minutes of May 21st, 2024? Right, seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next, we'll move on to reports not requiring a motion. First, we have a communication report, and you'll see today as well that Adam sent us an email including invasive species. So I'm going to hand that over to Adam.
Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for giving me the chance to talk about this project. We're kind of looking at invasive species here. Purpose of this guide was to just keep residents informed of some of the invasive species that are present here in the county. So invasive species are those species that are not native to an area but have a negative impact. So a good local example would be Japanese knotweed, which is something that was brought in as a cultivated plant but then has since taken over a lot of areas and now competes local plants. So as I began work on this project, I found that the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council had a really great guide, but the only problem with it was province-wide, not Pictou County specific. So what I did was I went through that and pulled out, there was 18 local species in that are found here in Pictou County. And so I used that guide as basis and then created some summaries of each of those. So I've been working with Kevin Burley. He helped me build this website. So you can see on the screen here, they'll have the list of different species and then pictures. And then with each of those, there's a link that people can take to go to the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council website to get a fuller description and some best management practices for those. Another really great feature that Kevin was able to build in is a map where people, sorry, just wait for it to load. So people will be able to report species that they find, so they can use this drop down to select the one that they think that they've seen, enter in the description, add a photo, and then once they do that, it'll actually appear on this map once we give approval. So then we can kind of use this as a guide to see what species are here, where they're prevalent, and just kind of watch for trends in time. So we're hoping that we can keep this updated in the coming years. So like there's an insect impacting hemlock stands right now in other parts of the province. So as that moves closer to us, we can kind of keep an eye on that and keep track. And yeah, just hopefully keep this up to date. I sent out an email there earlier with the link. Feel free to share that with anyone you think might be interested. But I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you very much. I think this is something that I think any data is good, and I think that we will be especially appreciative of this in the years to come. Go ahead, Borden Parker.
I also want to thank Adam for taking the initiative to do this. I think it will be valuable to a lot of our residents, and I think it'd be good to find some way to include it, even if you have to do it over 2 or 3 editions of our Rural News and Views.
Yeah.
Because that's looked at and watched by a lot of people, whether they can get on the internet or not. I often hear from people, they read it back to front and front to back. So that's a good place to have this information. And you especially mentioned the hemlock woolly aphid or whatever it's called, that it hasn't done a lot of damage here yet, I don't think, but it's certainly coming here.
Yeah.
It's already in neighboring counties, and we have a lot of beautiful hemlock stands in this county that we're in danger of losing. And the same things happened to many trees over the past few years. The beech, the first one you showed there's hardly a healthy beech in our forest anymore. And of course, Dutch elm disease wiped out pretty near all our elms. So these things that come in from outside can do real significant damage and change our woods and our landscape forever. So it's great to have that sort of historic, but also now you can add to that as new ones come along. So last year we talked a lot about invasive species, and I believe it was the wild carrot that was the problem at that time in Chester Dewars area. but maybe it's not an invasive, it's invasive in terms of people's fields and whatnot, but maybe it's not invasive in terms of coming in from outside, is it?
Yeah, there's some that are poisonous, but not necessarily, they might be a native plant. I'm not sure on that one specifically. I tried to stick specifically what was already in that guide and identified as Pictou County, just to, stick as factual as possible. I know yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I'll have to.
Yeah,
look
that
into
was certainly one that came years ago, and I don't know, somebody around this table know what the proper name for it is, but it used to be called Stinking Willie. And it just filled pastures everywhere and poisoned horses, and but you don't seem to see as much of it now. They did bring in a cinnabar moth to try and biologically control it, but it didn't seem to work that much good at the first, but maybe it did have a long-term effect. But there's several others that may not be, like you say, imports, but they certainly cause a lot of damage. So I again commend you on doing the work on this, and assistance you got from others for sure. I think it's valuable to our residents. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Adam, you did a great job in the report. Thank you for that. A couple of weeks ago down in Black Point, there were reports of blue-green algae in the water just off Black Point.
Yeah.
Do you know if that's been confirmed? Because
It was, yeah, the province had that posted as one of their alerts as well.
that's one of the sites.
Yeah.
Would that fit in
I
something
don't
like
think
this?
it actually classifies as invasive species, but it might be one of those things that we kind of maybe even do like a subsection on this as some, things that may be dangerous to residents.
Yeah, because I know the residents down there are really concerned with
Yeah, for
what's happening to
sure.
water. So, yep, thank you. Appreciate that.
Councillor Parker.
We could go on a long list of introduced and/or invasive. The earthworm is an introduced species.
Really?
Yeah, if you ever tried digging for worms in the forest, you don't find any. You only find them in old fields, old fields, manure piles. The deer, white-tailed deer, is an introduced species. Introduced as compared to invasive. The one that has me most concerned right now is something called the emerald ash borer. It will probably wipe out 99 to 100% of our ash trees, which are a pretty significant component of many of our forests. But as the world has changed, and as we have people traveling all over the world, and we're importing things from all over the world, we will continue to see, unfortunately, invasive species, and some of them, extremely well adapted, just explode once they get into a new habitat. Some, like the earthworm, I consider to be beneficial, but many I consider to be a pest. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I thank you, Adam, for your presentation this evening, and well done.
Thanks.
Is there any, to follow up to that, is there any questions or comments on the communications report? Yes, go ahead, Warden Parker.
I just wanted to comment that out of the top 10 posts on Facebook this month, the top 2 are to do with our tree planting in Marigamish, and I think that's significant, but it shows that people are paying attention to these tree plantings. This is the third year, is it? And while it seems like a small thing in many ways, because are we making any difference in the big picture of how many trees we lost in Fiona and whatnot, but it teaches the lesson that we can do something about climate change, and that planting trees is one way we can do that. And it's great to see that our residents are paying attention to that, I think, and encourages that climate change committee to continue, and the tree planting subcommittee continue that effort. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else like to comment on the communications report? Seeing none, we'll move along. Recreation report for the month of May. Any questions or comments? Okay. Any questions or comments on the recreation report? Right, seeing none, we'll move along to the warden's report for the month of May. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In regards to the protest that you attended regarding coastal erosion, do you consider that to be a one-off, or do you suspect that there'll be more activity regarding the Coastal Protection Act being put away for now? Do you think there's going to be a concerted effort, more of an effort put into the protest of that?
From what I'm hearing, there will be, because a lot of people that live along our shores are certainly very concerned about what the long-term effect of this is going to be, not just what's going to happen over the next 6 months, but, you know, are the people who own shoreland now going to have to sell in order, because they can't afford to keep up with the rocking? For one, that's just one impact, but, you know, there's two sides to this, I guess. On the one side is leave me alone, this is my land, I'll do what I want. And the other side is, if we don't protect the shore for all of us, then it's going to become a private shore. So I suspect that that this will continue, and I think the ultimate end, I believe, should come where the province doesn't just say, okay, we're backing down on that. They're at the mood now where they don't want to be seen as backing down on anything else, but they should work with us as municipalities and not simply say, you know, municipalities, it's your job. So I think it's still very up in the air. I am going to an event on Sunday, which is organized by Council of Canadians, I think it's called, you know, which is to do with this same topic. So I think you will see continuously efforts being made, and while the government's going to be careful not to be seen as backing down, I think they may come to their senses in terms of how do we work with the municipalities to make this happen, rather than have nothing happen, because when we brought it up here one evening, there wasn't a lot of appetite for us to go ahead and do it. So if nobody does it, then what do we see down the road? So I can't predict whether it will or won't, but I don't think it's just going to go away, because the circumstances on our shores isn't just going to go away.
Follow up, Madam Chair?
Yes, go right ahead.
Did you hear anything back from any of the other counties along the Northumberland shore?
I talked to Mr. McDowell this morning about that, and I think Cumberland we had some interest from, and I talked to the mayor of Colchester, and she was certainly interested, but I haven't heard anything concrete from them that we want to go ahead. So I think everybody's sort of in that mode of let's wait and see what's going to happen. I think, and probably in the end nothing would happen, but I am going to contact them again this week just to see if their councils have made any decisions. They all said they want to take it to their council, which was what I expected.
Okay. Councillor Palmer?
Just on that, this council hasn't made a decision on it either, so, you know,
No.
it's something that we're going to sit down and discuss, and just, and what can we do as a council, or as a municipality, to protect the shoreline? Right.
It's a decision we still have to make, yeah.
Exactly. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other further questions?
I
Yes,
just-
go ahead, Warden
I
Parker. Want
just
to speak on it?
I just might add that I wanted to mention what took place here this morning in front of our building. We had a good-sized crowd here for the raising of the pride flag, and so it's proudly hanging out in front of our building here now. But it was the best crowd I've seen here, you know, since we started raising the pride flag, and there was a fair number of young people here for sure. Councillor Dave Parker and Councillor Elliott were here, along with a lot of our staff, and I think it was well received, and you know, I brought the message that this council respects everybody equally. You know, regardless of all of our differences, we still respect all of our residents, and I forget the name, Carissa, I don't remember the last name, Ansley maybe, she was here representing the Pride group, and gave a good talk at the first on that. So I think it was just important that we showed them that everybody's appreciated in this county. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Warden Parker. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, we'll move on. Next, we have the taxes receivable report. As you're aware, will be May and June are busy months for receiving taxes, payments, I should say, for taxes. Any questions or comments on that? Go ahead, Dave, Councillor Parker.
I guess as a comment, I note that the taxes outstanding year over year, at the end of May, are up by about 15%. That is not a good sign.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our D-transfer tax report. Everything's starting to even out. Still better than, I guess, pre-COVID. Questions or comments? All right, we'll move along to reports requiring a motion, and we have accounts paid. Can I have a motion on the floor, please? Moved by Deputy Warden Murray, second by Councillor Turner. Go ahead, Councillor Parker.
Check number 34 to McDonald and Murphy. It says Internet Consult. I'm assuming that was outside of their normal audit activities?
Yes. That was their audit work they did last year, for the audit work they did last year in the internet project at the year end.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on any checks, accounts paid for the month of May? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, so next we have our municipal service grants. So the first one that we have is District 2. We have Little Harbor Walking and Bicycling Trail Society, amount of $2,000 for composite picnic table at Roy Island. Okay, we have a motion to move that. Moved by Councillor Wadden, seconded by Councillor Turner. Any questions or comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 4. Bellevue and Extension Cemetery Association, $3,500 for maintenance. River John Community Action Society, $2,737 for lighting security maintenance at Rogers Landing and Bissell Park. Campbell Point Cemetery, $2,000 for maintenance. Riverbank Cemetery, $2,000 for survey and maintenance. Mountain Road Cemetery, $1,000 for maintenance. River John Legion Branch 108, $900 for maintenance. Salem United Church Cemetery, $3,000 for maintenance. River John and District Lions Club, $3,800 for playground repairs. River John Area Historical Club, $5,750 for upgrades to building. River John Area Recreation Association, $4,300 to purchase a lawn tractor. West Branch Hall Streetlight, $40 for the yearly cost, and Salem United Church Streetlight, $40 for the yearly cost, for a grand total of $29,067. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Elliott. We have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Parker. Any questions or comments on the District 4 municipal service grants? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we'll move on to District 6. We have the Lockbroom Log Church Committee, $5,000 for maintenance of church and property. We have the Salem and Area Recreation, $25,000 to construct multi-use pad. And West River Presbyterian Church, $5,635 for the exterior work on hall, for the grand total of $35,635. Moved by Warden Parker. Seconded by Deputy Warden Murray. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 9, Hillside Community Society, $14,000 for upgrades to basement. Moved by Councillor Boyle, seconded by Councillor Dewar. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Madam Chair?
Sorry, I didn't
Before
see.
we do the next one, District 11, I was going through my phone to see what it was about, and I should have asked to be put on the agenda. Counselor Thompson asked if we could add the Sunny Bray, East River Island 4-H Club, $500 to his list of municipal service grants. All the information has been submitted, and he was wondering if he could get it all approved tonight, so.
Okay. Been received? Okay, so what is it for, what's
It's
it?
for the 4-H for Sunny Bray.
Sunny Bray 4-H Club.
Yeah. SBI, Sunny Bray, or is it? Spring, okay. No charge. I'll move it, though. I'll move everything.
Okay, well,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm like, hold on a second. Okay, so first we have East River St. Mary's Fire Department in the amount of $1,500 for equipment and operations. Then we have the Blue Mountain Fire Department, $1,500 for equipment and operations. Garden of Eden Community Hall, $2,000 operating expenses. Garden of Eden Cemetery, $400 maintenance. Moose River Cemetery, $400 maintenance. Greensbrook Cemetery, $400 maintenance. Bridgeville Community Hall, $2,000 for operations. Bridgeville Cemetery, $400 maintenance. East River Valley Recreation Association, $2,000 for operations. East River Valley Community Development Association, $1,500 for newsletter. Glencoe Community Hall, $5,000 for demolition and reclamation of hall property. Plymouth Community and Recreation Association, $3,750 for paving of reserved parking area. Plymouth Fire Department, $1,500 for equipment and operations. Plymouth Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary, $950 for equipment purchases. Churchville Hall, $2,000 for operating expenses. Churchville Cemetery, $400 for maintenance. Sunnybray Cemetery, $400 for maintenance. Springville Cemetery, $400 for maintenance. And SBI 4-H Club, $500 for a grand total of $27,000. Moved by Councillor Palmer. We have a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Dewar. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Next, we'll move on to recreation grants. So we have two this evening. The first one is Recreation Nova Scotia Conference sponsorship. So the Municipality Recreation Department is part of the Highland region hosting this conference at St. FX in 2024. And council needs to decide if it will sponsor this event, and the sponsorship details are included. And I believe, just like most of these events, there is a grading, I guess, for sponsorship. Second here. I believe that bronze is $500, silver is $1,000, gold is $2,000, platinum is $3,000, and RNS Banquet is $3,000. So that's the different levels of sponsorship available for this conference. So I will ask someone, Councillor, to put a motion on the floor. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
I would make a motion that we sponsor the platinum of $3,000. It's in our area or in our neighboring area, and our recreation people put a lot of work into helping with recreation here, and I think that they deserve that. We put that much forward.
Okay. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we put a sponsor at the platinum level, $3,000. Is there any questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the Lismore District Community Center Youth Leadership Program Funding Action. So I guess council will decide if it will fund this program through the Recreations Community Operating Grant, and funding information is included. So it's, do you want to speak on that, Councillor Butler?
Yes, Madam Chair. It would appear to me that the information provided is incomplete. It's looking like it ended halfway through a sentence.
Yes. It's on the back. It never got scanned through.
Oh, it was double-sided.
Double-sided.
Oh. So their total budget is $2,500, so it's $80 per session for 10 months for $800, foods and snacks, $1,000, art supplies, $200, costume props, set music decorations, etc., $500 for a total budget of $2,500.
I so move that we accept this request of $2,500.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we'll move on to number 10, maintenance tenders for roads. Public Works has provided a list for council's approval, and we have a copy here on our stations this evening. So we're looking for approval of the spend for these maintenance of the roads. Is that my understanding? Okay. So we have Hidden Cove Drive, and Holland Lane, Jean Street, Lakeside Court, McIntosh Drive, Maple Estates Drive, Maple Street, Oak Street, Pine Street, Stanwood Drive, Barclay Ridge Crescent, Nancy's Way, Gordon Buck McLean Road, and Hopewell Eureka PS3 access. Looking for a motion. You want to put a motion on the floor? Okay. Councillor Wadden put a motion on the floor. We approve the ask as provided. You have a seconder for that? Okay, seconded by Deputy Warden Murray. I'll open the floor up to questions, comments. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
I just want to say you missed the very last one.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. River John. WWTP. What does that stand for?
Wastewater treatment.
Wastewater Treatment Plant. I apologize. My apologies. Okay, Warden Parker?
So not all of these went to the low bidder, is it? I'm just wondering if there's reasons if they didn't. Oh, maybe they didn't read them. Here it is, okay, that explains that one. So there's two of those are the only two, yeah.
Okay. Do you,
I have one more question.
yes, go right ahead. Absolutely.
So a lot of the problem on these roads comes with the timing. When the work is done. It's one thing we give it to the lowest bidder, it's up to them then to go and do that work. But sometimes it's, when we get complaints, I do from Maple and Oak, the ones in Sylvester, and we get some from Stanwood and Barclay Ridge, and I'm sure there's some in other areas that it takes a long while, sometimes three-quarters of the way through the summer before a first grading is done, or the one I hear the most was the chloride for the dust. It just takes, summer's almost over by the time they're putting the dust control on. Is there any time factor, I ask Mr. Logan, is there any time factor that we can say to residents that this has to be done by a certain date? Rather than they're just, oh, well, I'm responsible, but I can do it when I feel like it.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We have taken this in stock from previous years, so we're about a month earlier than previous years in awarding this work. So that's the first thing I'll say. And then the second item was that understanding the issues with timing, we did request that all the bidders put in their number of weeks to complete the work, so that's been received. And we've reviewed that along with the prices. All the timeframes seemed reasonable compared to, so there was no reason to award one over, to, change one award from being price-based to being schedule-based, because they all had reasonable schedules attached to them. But the longest lead time that we have is, on any of the awarded contracts, is 4 weeks. So each of these projects will be done within a month. The only caveat is that the calcium work has to be done after the grading work on the ones that need the grading. But we have taken into, we are sympathetic to the idea that people have been complaining about the calcium work, especially getting done later. So we tried to hit it earlier this year. It's always trying to balance it out with, okay, well, if we do it too early, then it's more likely that we'll have to do it again in the fall in some of these areas that are particularly dusty, especially if it's particularly dry. So And last year we did do a couple another time in the fall. So at the end of the day, the longest lead time, I guess we do have one for 6 weeks here, but they're all, and that's actually on a brush cutting project. But most of the work is to be completed within, say, 1, 2, or 3 weeks.
And I have one more question, if I might, Madam Chair. As the grading is done now, or within the 4 or 6 weeks, and, you know, by the end of September, let's say the road's all ripply again, or full of potholes or whatever, is this price for per grading, or is it for the year?
This is per grading.
This is
so
per
if-
grading, so,
yeah.
and who makes the decision then whether this should be graded again or not? Is it you, or?
It's me. It's been me. Last year it was, we got complaints in some areas we've reviewed and we've said, yeah, we agree this needs some additional work. And some we've said, it's really not any worse than other roads. And it's hard because some residents expect a different standard than others, but we like to compare to sort of the provincial standard and see where we're at there. So it does come down to a judgment call, especially in the fall. But this is only for one round
Per
of work.
grading?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I thank you that the calcium's gonna go on sooner, because that was the biggest frustration for a lot of people, was eating dust for the whole month of July and half the month of August before, and then by the time it went on, next thing you know, it was raining, didn't matter. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, I'll need a motion to go in camera. Moved by Deputy Warden Murray. Seconded by Councillor Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Just give us a wave when we're good to